The consequences of neglecting your boundaries. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to lose themselves. It happens slowly, quietly, one yes at a time. First, you take on the extra project because you don't want to seem like you're not a team player. Then you answer the late-night texts because you don't want to come across as unavailable. Then you show up to the family event you dreaded because saying no felt like starting a war. Then you loan the money you couldn't afford to loan. Then you listen to the same toxic friend vent for the 100th time, even though the conversation left you feeling hollow every single time. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, somewhere between all the yeses you never really meant, you stopped recognizing yourself. You're not burned out because life is hard. You're burned out because you've been living someone else's life while yours waits on hold. That is what neglecting your boundaries actually cost you. And today, we are going to talk about every single piece of that cost, because most people don't realize how much they're paying until they have nothing left. Let me tell you about a woman named Lauren. Lauren was 34, marketing director at a mid-sized company in Atlanta. On paper, she had everything figured out. Good salary, solid career, a full social calendar. People loved Lauren. She was the one everyone called, the one who always showed up, the one who never complained. But behind that, Lauren hadn't taken a real vacation in 4 years. She answered emails at midnight. She had a best friend who only called when she needed something, and Lauren always picked up. She had a mother who weaponized guilt like a professional, and a boyfriend who had quietly learned that Lauren's discomfort was negotiable. She kept telling herself she was fine. She kept telling herself this was just what it meant to be responsible, to be reliable, to be loved. Then one Tuesday morning, she sat in the parking lot of her office and couldn't get out of the car. Not because she was lazy, not because she was weak, but because her body, her nervous system, had finally done what she refused to do. It stopped. She sat in that parking lot for 45 minutes, crying and not even fully knowing why. That moment had a name. It was called collapse. And it wasn't sudden. It had been building for years, brick by brick, every time she chose someone else's comfort over her own truth. Lauren's story is not rare. Versions of it are playing out right now in offices, in homes, in relationships across this country. Maybe you recognize some of it in yourself. Maybe you recognize all of it. So let's talk about what is actually happening, psychologically, when you consistently neglect your boundaries. Because this isn't just about stress. This goes much deeper. When you repeatedly override your own needs to accommodate others, your brain begins to register a very specific and very dangerous message. Your needs don't matter. And once that belief embeds itself, once it moves from behavior into identity, everything starts to unravel. The first thing you lose is your internal compass. Psychologists call it self-trust. It's the quiet confidence that comes from consistently honoring your own instincts. When you keep saying yes when every part of you is screaming no, you train your brain to distrust your own signals. Over time, you stop knowing what you want. You stop knowing what you feel. You become an expert at reading what everyone else needs and completely illiterate about yourself. This is one of the most under-discussed consequences of poor boundaries, the loss of identity. You don't just get tired, you get lost. The second thing that happens is the anxiety spiral. And this is the part that confuses most people, because they think anxiety comes from doing too little. But chronic anxiety in people-pleasers comes from the constant internal conflict between what they feel and what they perform. You smile and say, "Of course, no problem," while your nervous system is in full alarm mode. You hold that tension, day after day, and your body keeps the score. Headaches, insomnia, a jaw that's permanently clenched, a chest that feels tight for no reason you can name. That's not stress, that's suppression. And suppression is exhausting in ways that sleep cannot fix. The third consequence, and this one destroys relationships, is resentment. Resentment is what happens when you keep giving without receiving, keep sacrificing without being seen, keep showing up for people who never wonder whether you're okay. And the insidious thing about resentment is that it doesn't announce itself. It seeps. It shows up as irritability you can't explain, sarcasm that cuts a little too deep, withdrawing from people you used to love, passive aggression that confuses everyone around you, including yourself, because you never actually said you were angry. You weren't angry at them. You were angry at yourself for never saying enough. Now let's be specific. Let's talk about where this shows up in real American life. Because this isn't theoretical. This is your Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon. At work. You're already carrying more than your job description. But when your manager piles on another task, you say nothing. Not because you're okay with it, because you're afraid that saying no will get you labeled as difficult, uncommitted, not a team player. So you absorb it. You stay late. You work through lunch. You answer Slack messages on Sunday morning. You burn through your capacity one overloaded week at a time. And then you get passed over for the promotion because you seem frazzled and overwhelmed. The system took everything you gave it and then penalized you for being depleted. In relationships, you have a friend, or maybe a partner, who has never once asked how you're doing without it turning back to them within 60 seconds. You've noticed it. You've felt the imbalance. But you tell yourself it's fine. They're going through a hard time. You're strong. You can handle it. Except you've been saying that for 3 years, and now you dread their calls. You feel a drop in your stomach when their name lights up your phone. That dread? That's your boundary telling you it's been violated so many times it stopped expecting to be respected. In family, this one is particularly brutal because family dynamics come wrapped in love, or at least the idea of love. You go to every gathering even when it costs you your mental health. You loan money you need. You hold your tongue when someone says something that diminishes you, because keeping the peace feels more important than telling the truth. And every time you do that, every time you swallow what you actually feel to preserve the comfort of the room, you send yourself a message. You are not worth protecting. Here's what most people don't understand about boundaries. They think neglecting them is the safe choice. They think it keeps the peace, preserves the relationship, avoids the conflict. But here's the truth. The absence of boundaries doesn't protect your relationships. It slowly poisons them. Because you cannot sustain real connection from a place of resentment. You cannot be genuinely present for people when you're running on empty. You cannot love generously when you are secretly keeping score. And eventually, maybe in months, maybe in years, something gives. Either you collapse like Lauren, or you erupt in anger that shocks everyone who thought you were fine. Or you go numb. You stop caring. You pull back so far that the relationship dies not with a fight, but with silence. All of that, every single one of those outcomes, could have been prevented by one hard conversation. One uncomfortable no. One moment of honoring yourself early enough that it didn't require a catastrophe to force change. So how do you start rebuilding? Because if you're watching this, something in you already knows it's time. Step 1. Conduct an honest audit of your relationships and commitments. Get a piece of paper, or open your notes app, and make a simple list. On one side, write down your 5 most draining relationships or obligations. On the other side, write your 5 most energizing ones. Look at the pattern. Look at where your time and energy are actually going versus where they're feeding you back. This is not about cutting people off. It's about seeing clearly what you've been refusing to see. Step 2. Identify your boundary collapse points. There are specific moments, specific triggers, where your boundaries consistently fail. For most people, it's one of 3 things. The fear of being perceived as selfish, the fear of someone's anger, or the fear of losing connection. Which one is yours? Name it. Because you cannot defend a line you haven't drawn, and you cannot draw a line you haven't first acknowledged. Step 3. Start with low-stakes practice. You don't rebuild boundaries by immediately confronting your most toxic relationship or having the hardest conversation of your life. You rebuild them by practicing in small moments. You decline the optional meeting. You don't reply to the non-urgent message after 8 p.m. You say, "I'll think about it," instead of an automatic yes. You're training a muscle that has been neglected. Start with the small weights before you move to the heavy ones. Step 4. Tolerate the discomfort without interpreting it as wrongness. When you first start holding boundaries, it will feel awful. People will push back. Some will guilt you. Some will go cold. And your nervous system, conditioned to interpret their discomfort as your failure, will flood you with anxiety and guilt. This is normal. This is expected. And this is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is evidence that you are doing something new. Stay with it. The discomfort is temporary. The cost of abandoning yourself is permanent. Step 5. Redefine what it means to be a good person. This is the deepest shift, and it's the one that makes everything else sustainable. Most of us who struggle with boundaries were taught, implicitly or explicitly, that goodness means availability, that love means sacrifice, that care means never saying no. And that belief is costing you your health, your identity, and your relationships. Being a good person does not mean being an endlessly accessible person. It means showing up with integrity. It means being honest, even when honesty is uncomfortable. It means treating yourself with the same respect you extend to others, because a person who cannot respect themselves cannot genuinely respect anyone else. Here's the phrase I want you to remember after today. Boundaries are not walls. They are the terms under which you are able to show up fully. Without them, you don't give more. You give less. Less presence, less authenticity, less love, because you are running on debt. The version of you that is rested, that is honest, that is whole, that version is more valuable to every relationship in your life than the depleted version that says yes to everything and means almost none of it. Here is your action step for today. Not tomorrow, today. Think of one boundary you have been avoiding setting, one conversation you've been putting off, one situation you've been tolerating that you know is draining you. Write it down. Write down what it cost you every day that you don't address it. Then write down what it would mean for your life, 6 months from now, if you finally did. You don't have to fix everything today, but you have to start somewhere. And starting somewhere requires deciding that you are worth protecting. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not selfishness. It is not cruelty. Self-respect is the non-negotiable foundation of a life you can actually live, not just endure. You've been enduring long enough. It is time to live.